You weren't an accident. You weren't mass-produced. You're not an assembly line product. You were deliberately planned, specifically gifted, and lovingly positioned on this earth by the Master Craftsman. If you're going to be successful in creating a life of your dreams, you have to believe that you're capable of making it happen. You have to believe that you have the right stuff and you're able to pull it off. You have to believe in yourself. Whether you call it self-esteem, self-confidence, or self-assurance, it's a deep-seated belief that you have whatever it takes, the abilities, the inner resources, the talents, the skills to create the desired results. So believing in yourself is an attitude. It's a choice. It's an attitude you develop over time. Although it helps if you have a positive and supportive parents, that helps you, definitely. The fact that most of us have a run-of-the-mill parents who have inadvertently passed on to us the same limiting beliefs and negative conditioning that they grew up with. But remember, the past is in the past and there's no future in it. There is no useful payoff for blaming your parents for where you are right now. It's now your responsibility to take charge of this and develop your own self-concept and your beliefs. You must choose to believe that you can do anything if you set your mind to it. So anything at all is possible, because in fact you can. It might know that you're the latest brain research now indicates that with enough positive self-talk and positive visualization, combined with proper training, coaching, and practice, anyone can learn to almost do anything. Anyone can learn to almost do anything. One of the hundreds of successful people Jack Canfield's interviewed for books and other books, and almost every one of them told him, it was not the most gifted or talented person in my field that they were, but they chose to believe anything was possible. They studied, practiced, and worked harder than the others. And that's how I got to where I am. If a 20-year-old Texan can take up the lunge and become an Olympic athlete, and a college dropout can become a billionaire, Bill Gates, and a dyslexic student who failed 3 grades become a best-selling author and television producer, Oprah Winfrey, then you too can accomplish anything if you simply believe it's possible. If you assume in favor of yourself and act if it's possible, then you will do the things that are necessary to bring about that result. If you believe it's impossible, you will not do what's necessary and you will not produce the result you're after. Either way, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The choice of what to believe is entirely up to you. Consider the case of Viktor Serbikov, the son of a Russian emirate, who grew up in a London slum, believing that he had no chance of ever finishing his school and any meaningful employment. Victor's teacher labelled him a dunce, and they told him he should drop out of school. Succumbing to the destiny that others had prescribed for him, Victor dropped out of school, and when he was 15, he became an intern worker, moving from one dead-end job to another, often living on the streets with no aspirations and merely just surviving. When he was 32, Victor joined the British Army, and it gave him an intelligence test, and it revealed that he was mentally gifted with an IQ of 161. He was literally a genius. This is a guy that was told to leave school and drop out. Literally a genius with an IQ of 161. Astonished by the results, Victor nevertheless decided to believe them. Once he had learned that he was a genius, he decided to act like a genius. While he was in the army, he got assigned to the education corps and to train recruits. He then left the army and got another job at a timber company and eventually became the manager of the group and the woodworking factories. He also became a highly respected timber technologist and revolutionized the timber industry by inventing a machine for grading timber by introducing the metric system to the trade. He then later became the chairman of the National Timber Standard Commission and held several valuable sawmill-related patents as a result of this. One day his wife, Mary, spotted an advertisement for the society that he was looking for people with high intelligence. Victor took the entrance test for Mensa and easily surpassed the group's only requirement for membership, an IQ of 140 or more. Again, he scored 161, putting him in the exceptionally gifted category. Remember, this is a guy who was thrown out of school and asked to leave. Several years later, his former dropout was elected. The former dropout was elected chairman of Mensa International. So that made the difference in Victor's life. It wasn't that. So what made it the difference in Victor's life? It wasn't that he suddenly became smart. The truth is, he was smart all along. The intellect potential was always there. What had changed the way he thought and chose to see it is because how he chose to see himself. When he was 15, he chose to believe his teachers, who saw him as stupid. When he was 32, he chose to believe the Army's IQ test. And they said he was a genius. And he realized the innate potential that he had always had was there. Victor's story was an awesome demonstration of the power of choosing to believe in yourself and your capabilities. What potential is lying dormant within you? Think about that. Who has conditioned you to think less of yourself and tell you you're stupid? And in actual fact, you've probably got that potential within you as well. So what is lying dormant within you that could be released if you choose to believe in yourself and your abilities? The phrase isn't, good evening, Alana. The phrase isn't, I can't. It's the most powerful force of negation in the human psyche. If you're going to be successful, you really need to give up the phrases like I can't and all of its cousins. I wish I were able to. The words I can't actually disempower you immediately. They actually make you weaker when you say them. And when you talk about it, I use a technique called applied kinesiology to test people's muscle strength as they say different phrases. So when you think about it, this is actually, you get them to put their left arm at their side and you push down on it when it's out like this. So your left arm's basically out like that and you push down on it. Now, at the same time as you're pushing down on it, you have your normal strength. Then you have them choose something that they think they can't do and talk about that. So if they can't play the piano, you have them talk about it and say it out loud. I can't play the piano. I can't play the guitar. And you'll find that you'll push your arm down very, very easy because they're always weaker, because they're always telling themselves they can't as a result of that. But let them say the same phrase, I can do, and tell themselves what they can't do and say the same exercise and do the same exercise. This time saying I can't and using positive affirmations. And I'll guarantee you, it is less likely you're able to push that arm back down now because it gives them strength within, just because they can, and it empowers them as a result. Your brain is designed to solve any problem and reach any goal that you give it. The words you think and say actually affect your body, and that's exactly what that experiment does. We see this in toddlers, for example. Classic example. When you were a toddler, there was no stopping you. You thought you could climb up anything. No barrier was too big for you to attempt to overcome. But little by little, your sense of invincibility was conditioned out of you by the emotional and physical abuse that you received from your family, friends, and your teachers, and by the decisions that you'd made in response to that until you no longer believed that you can. You must take responsibility for removing I can't from your vocabulary. I mean, I once attended a Tony Robbins seminar in which we learned to walk on burning coals. That was no bother after I conditioned myself because he taught me how to do it. Walk over burning coals. Now, these burning coals were about 3 meters or 4 meters, and it was a doddle. Never even got burnt. When we began, we were all afraid of what we wouldn't be able to do, that we would burn our soles of our feet. As part of the seminar, Tony had us write everything up, every other thing that I can't. Then we had a final, I can't find the perfect job, I can't be a millionaire, I can't find the perfect mate. And then we threw them all on the burning coals and watched them go up in flames. 2 hours later, 350 of us walked the burning coals without anybody getting burnt at all. That night, we all learned that just like belief that we couldn't walk on burning coals without getting burned was a lie, because we could walk on coals without getting burned. Every other limiting belief about our abilities was also a lie. This is also a lie. People are telling you you can't when actually you can. You have to believe it's possible. When George Danting was a graduate student in mathematics at UC Berkeley, he arrived late for the graduate level statistics class and found 2 problems written on the blackboard that he assumed had been assigned for homework. So he wrote them down, not knowing that they had been written on the board for two examples of famous unsolvable statistical problems. He then set out to solve them. Danting's would later recount that the problems seemed to be a little harder than usual, but a few days later, after copying them down, he handed in the complete solutions for the problems, still believing they were part of the assignment he was overdue to give. Danting said, "If I'd known the problems were not homework and in fact were 2 famous unsolved problems statistically in statistics, I probably would never have solved them and thought positively about them and would have become discouraged and never would have got through." Danting's story is a wonderful example of how, when you pursue your goals without limiting beliefs about what you can accomplish, you can create unexpected and extraordinary results. And I'll see you tomorrow.